Hello, welcome to Chutzpah time.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
So, on this episode, we are going to hear from someone very special. She moved to a foreign country, not speaking the language, and not knowing anybody in her early 20s, all on her own. She is also known as Liza Kulinsky. Hi, Liza.
Hi.
It's so nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, it's our pleasure. So Liza is also Vlad's sister. Vlad is my husband and our producer. So she's my sister-in-law. And we're just so excited to have you on our podcast and hear your journey and what it's like to be an international student and live in Athens and all of the amazing things you've done. So tell us about yourself.
Well, so I'm 29 years old. I'm originally from Tel Aviv, we can say. I moved here to Athens when I was 24 years old, which was basically November 2014, I think it was, yeah. So I've been living here in Athens for about 6 years. I graduated last fall from the Faculty of Theology, and right now I'm doing my master's in psychology of religion.
Wow, congratulations and good for you.
Thank you.
That is so cool. And so you were 24 when you moved, so about 6 years ago. And then you said you're studying right now the psychology of religion. What does that mean?
So basically the subject is examining religion as a phenomenon from a purely scientific point of view. And it uses psychology to try and understand how religion came about in humanity, like why all people tend to be religious, and also it examines the human experience, like what happens to a person in a person's mind in the religious experience. So it's basically that. It's fairly simple, I would say, as a title. But once you dive in, it's pretty complicated.
It sounds fascinating.
It's a whole science, and pretty recent also. I think it developed around like 30 years ago, maybe. Before that, it simply didn't exist. So it's relatively new, and there's a lot to be discovered, a lot to be done still.
Yeah, I watched a little documentary about kids, and basically they said you need to do this activity a certain way, but you're gonna be alone in a room. And half of the group knew that there is an imaginary someone there watching them, and half of them did not. They weren't told that someone imaginary is there. And literally 90% of the kids that knew that there's an imaginary someone there that was watching them followed the activity and the rules of the activity. And the ones that did not have someone imaginary there did not follow the rule and was cheating.
Oh, that was a thunder. Okay. It actually does remind me of a lot of the researches that are being done in the field. A lot of them with children, because in the try to understand why people are religious, it's always good to come to the least developed beings, which are children, and try to see, are they religious even before they're being taught anything religious? And apparently most children are. I mean, most children, they believe that something is created, like that the world is created by someone, and that everything has a reason, and so on and so on. So, and that conclusion is not necessarily a religious conclusion, because one can be religious for many reasons. And also many scientists say that people are religious because it helped them in the battle for survival.
Yeah.
So it's many theories like that. And actually most scientists find religious simply as a method of coping, not as anything that is actually true. So,
Right. Yeah. It's just healthy, a mental stability.
I feel like we can have a whole episode just about this subject, because I have so much to say about it, but I don't want to take away from you and your story and all the other cool stuff we want to talk about today.
Yeah, so we will continue this in another episode.
Sure, anytime.
So before we dive into what was your first year like in a foreign country, or you know what was your first year like in a foreign country, and where did you move?
It was crazy. As one would expect, it was crazy because I came completely unprepared. In a sense, it all happened in like 2 months. Wow. Like 2 months before that, I didn't even had the thoughts of coming or going anywhere. I just got out of a big relationship, and I was looking for something to do and to continue to pursue my studies and moving forward. So I came completely unprepared. It all happened really, really fast. I didn't know the language. I didn't know the culture. Jeez. I knew nothing about Greece, literally nothing. And I knew no one here. But I got the scholarship, and I was very excited to go abroad and, try to do something on my own, and new experiences, new people, something completely different. So there was this part of actually not knowing anything or anyone. Yeah. And also, just settling. I mean, I had to find an apartment, and I had to apply for all the residence permit, and then to the university and everything like that to study the language, which was 5 days a week. So wow. I would go to school in the morning, and then all the rest of the day it was just crazy running errands. And when I came to the apartment, it was just empty, no furniture, no nothing. I mean, it was really just building my life from scratch in a way, in a sense. Yeah. So it was crazy. It was very overwhelming, but also extremely interesting. Yeah. Extremely interesting and exciting, because it was, I think, my second time abroad in my entire life, and I was like, I'm living here. I'm not just a tourist. I'm actually here to stay, at least for a while. So it was like that. It was crazy, but very, very much worth it. Very much worth it.
Did you choose Greece, or that was just a scholarship that you received? Why Greece, basically?
Well, it was just a scholarship that I received. I mean, it was, what's the word for it? Yeah. It just happened. Yeah. It just happened. Yeah. It just happened. So not only didn't I choose it, I was never even interested in the idea. Like, I never knew anything about Greece, anything. So it was a tsunami of new information and a completely different lifestyle. Everything's so different.
That's so brave to just go with it. Like, life presented you with this opportunity. You're like, hey, want to go to Greece and study in the university and live in Athens? And you're like, sure, never been there, don't speak the language, don't know anything about it. But I mean, that's a bit very brave. So I mean, I applaud you for doing that.
Thanks.
Yeah. And the personal journey, I mean, you get to know yourself for so many levels and experience yourself in different ways. When you learned Greek, what was that like? You said you had to, outside of just going to school, was your school in English, or how did you understand what people were talking about?
It was Greek in Greek.
Wow.
Oh my God.
The teachers spoke, no, I think like right in the beginning, they spoke English, obviously, because no one knew a word of Greek. But very soon they just passed to Greek, and you just grasp, you just get it on the way.
Wow.
You don't have a choice, so it kind of makes you a lot more attentive.
So you were part of a program, right? Like a foreign student program, people from all over the world, or was it just people from Israel that went to Greece?
It was people who got scholarships to come to Greece, and we were all basically in one group, in one class. But the whole department was filled with basically with many students who came to study in Greece and just had to pass the courses in order to be able to enroll into the university, because you must have a certain level, obviously, to start. So,
Oh, okay.
Very cool. So it's nice that at least you weren't the only one. There are other people in your program that didn't speak Greece or have never been there. Did you make any friends like that? Like, how was that? What was that like?
of course. Yeah, it did make things easier because we were all equally miserable and all equally lost and poor and just completely shocked, because most of the people that came there were also had the process happen very quickly. Like they knew about it like 5, maybe 6 months before that, and they just left and they just came. So we were all equally miserable and lost. and also these are still my best friends here.
Wow.
Because it kind of unites you, because the culture is still somehow different to your original culture, and just the style of life. I mean, you are still a foreigner.
Yeah.
You're still not a part of this life completely, because you don't have a family here, and things like that. And in Greece, family is a huge thing. Like people gather around their families. It's not so much the other acquaintances and friendships as much as it is family. So for example, through the summer, people will just go with their families to the islands, to the village and stuff. So so you kind of don't fit in many times in this scheme of social life. In this sense, I guess I could say so.
Yeah.
The lifestyle is very family oriented.
Very much so.
Are there young people, or do people keep to themselves, would you say, like even young people in the university?
I guess I could say that, there is this, I don't know if it's a myth, but there is this very popular opinion that Greeks are very open. They're welcoming and they're not so much.
Yeah.
I mean, let me dispel that. I mean, not so much. I mean, Greeks, they can be very friendly, like if you ask them where to go, or just
For
questions on the
directions.
street or something like that. But they can be very reserved as far as it goes for friendships, or even like inviting you to their house, even like this.
Wow.
They're very reserved. Like for example, if we compare to Israel, where I came from, where you guys came from,
Yeah.
it's so different. Israelis are really truly open.
Yeah.
It's the atmosphere is different. It's different.
Well, Greece is in Europe, so it makes sense that it's maybe a little bit more reserved or formal, I guess, than Israel. Because Israel is like, the Wild West, like, but like in a, you know.
Sort of, yeah. I guess we could say that Greece is maybe very traditional.
Yeah.
And because it's traditional, it's in many ways set in its ways.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's family oriented, and it's all about, you know, us Greeks.
Right. Very interesting.
Thank you for that scoop.
Just so you know, yeah.
Well, stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to talk about Athens and what that island is all about.
So we'll be on a short break.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break.
Cool.
Henny.
Hey, welcome back.
Yay, we're back.
Nice to be here.
Liza, you're still here.
I'm still here.
That's good. Okay. So, tell us about Athens and like, what is it like?
It's big.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, compared to New York, not really. But compared to Tel Aviv, yeah. It's big. It's geographically interesting because it's surrounded by mountains. And one side of it is actually a shore. So if you go uphill, you can see 360, you can see the mountains and the sea. So it's kind of cool like that. The population is mostly Greeks and many immigrants also, because Greece was one of the countries that accepted the most immigrants when all this crisis in the Arab world started. So there's just a lot of immigrants from all different countries. You have Pakistan, Afghanistan, you have Bangladesh, everywhere, basically everywhere. So as far as it goes for population, there is that, and also immigrants from other countries too. Of course, there are Russians, Ukrainians, mostly people who come here to work and stuff like that. Culturally, well, there's the history, of course. So Greece is known for being the motherland of place of birth of philosophy, of many sciences, of democracy. So you can see that represented very well in archaeology. All the center of the city is basically the Parthenon, which was a temple, an ancient Greek temple. I can't tell exactly where it dates back, to when it dates back, but it's very old, obviously. There's also the first theater in the world, the ancient theater. Wow. There are many museums with extremely interesting items of all ancient Greek history. It's amazing because it's not only sculptures, which are definitely and absolutely mesmerizing, but it's also so much jewelry and weapons and things like that. So there is this part, the history part. Except for that, there's a very vibrant nightlife, of course. A lot of interesting food, street food, fancy restaurants, things like that. What else can I say? Cool. I think one of the most interesting features, which surprised me a lot, and I think may surprise many other people who come here, is the street art. It's everywhere, and it's absolutely stunning.
So cool.
There are specific neighborhoods, especially neighborhoods that are poor, obviously. Or there's this one neighborhood that's called Exarchia, which is it's an anarchist neighborhood. Whoa! It's like an anarchist den. So, for example, there's tons of street art, and then there's this one cafe, for example, that is called the Social Cafe. So you can get everything there for half price. Like, for example, if standard you will pay for coffee like €2.50, so there you'll pay 1.
Yeah.
So there is that, and many of the street artists that work here in Greece, they're known all around the world. I mean, they're real full artists, not just not just spraying things around. It's like it's full on.
That's so cool.
I always think of Greece as like the food is good and you go there to chill and go to the beach. But I had no idea about the art. Like, I forgot about it. You know what I mean? And so it's so cool. Do you go to museums a lot? Is that an activity that locals do often?
I'm not sure about the locals because I guess most of them kind of visited all the famous, all the good museums, when they were kids in school or with their kids.
Yeah.
They don't go as much as often as many as probably tourists would go, because if you go to a museum, it's mostly foreigners, like tourists. What I wanted to add about street art and Athens in general, and what is usually how Greece is perceived usually. So what you're saying, that you think about Greece, so you think about going to the beach and chill and great food, fresh food. It's all true. It's just that Athens, in this sense, is very much not Greece. Like, you can get great food here, and there is the beach, but it's a city beach, So it's kind of but what I want to say is that, like most of America is not New York City.
Right. Exactly.
It's absolutely the same way with Athens, because it's the biggest city in Greece. By far the biggest, because the next big city is like 1/5 maybe of Athens.
Wow.
It's so much smaller. And Athens can be extremely intense compared to every other place in Greece. Because it's mostly villages, small towns. There is Thessaloniki, Patra, the big cities, but it's nothing compared to Athens, and it's nothing obviously compared to places like New York City or whatever.
Of course.
But I guess nothing compares to New York City.
That's the...
Yeah. And that's kind of what I wanted to ask you, is how does Athens compare to like the islands, or have you visited other areas in Greece?
I have visited some areas, and if you compare, it's just two completely different worlds. I mean, people still speak Greek in both places, like in Athens and outside of it, and it's still, but the people are so different. Like in Athens, people would be more, I guess, short-tempered. They're in a hurry, they're annoyed, there are just so many people around, and the streets are smelly, and people are always, just minding their own business.
Yeah.
If you go outside of Athens, everything is so relaxed. People are just so much slower, like considerably slower.
Wow.
And everything is different. The air is different. The food is different. The traditions.
Really?
In a way, Athens is considered to be, if I can stretch it a little, but like the worst part of Greece.
Really?
This, not the city, but where everything happens there.
Industrial, maybe.
The good and the bad.
Right.
Yeah, because Athens is also, it started building and becoming so big just about 50, 60 years ago. 100 years ago, it was basically the center, which a few old buildings, the Parthenon, and then there were just maybe 2, 3, 4 neighborhoods, and most of it was just like a desert. There was nothing here, and sheep and goat walking around, just like this. There was nothing. So culturally, in a sense, it stands a little lower, I guess, than, for example, Thessaloniki, which is much older, much more traditional. Much older, in recent times, not like ancient old. But it's much older. It has a lot more tradition. So So Athens is completely different. Other places also nature, because Athens is built. I mean, it's all concrete. It's literally all concrete. You have parks. You have like 2 main parks, 3 maybe.
Yeah.
And then most of it is just many streets that don't even have trees. Nothing. Like it's concrete, and the cars smell horribly, and a lot of and things like that. Nowhere else in Greece can you find that, especially not in the islands, which are like the jewels of Greece, of Greek life. If you're from an island, you're the best. You're considered to be like, you're like a god.
Wow, I had
Because
no
it's the best life
idea.
ever.
So you're saying if you went to Athens and that was the only place you went to in Greece, you didn't actually go to Greece. You just went to a big city in Greece.
No, you could say that you went to Greece, because there's still a lot to do and see in Athens.
Okay.
And it still represents the culture in a way. But it's maybe like 1/10 of everything that Greece has to offer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because if you go to nature and just different, different places and different traditions, because Greeks were under Turkish rule for 400 years.
Wow.
So while not having their own country, they developed their own traditions locally. So local traditions are also very important. Like you go to one village and they live by their own standards. Like they don't even care what's going on in Athens.
Wow.
For them, Athens may be, like a different planet, a completely different planet. Like, for example, just to add to complete the picture is that, for example, in Athens, when you leave the house, you have to close all windows, like even windows, the balconies, everything, because there is so much theft. There is so much criminal activity in the city. Good neighborhoods, bad neighborhoods, everywhere. You can get robbed so easily.
Really?
And the time I went to a vacation in the north, in a very beautiful town, very touristic, but very beautiful town. And I remember we came at night to the hotel. We came at like 2 a.m. in the morning.
Oh.
Came and there was no one there. So we went up the stairs, and there is the bar, and everything is open, and there is a computer there. It's all open. No locks, no guards, no anything. Because just no one steals
Yeah.
anything, like, ever. And it's kind of fascinating. I think it's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I didn't know that there's a lot of crime in Athens. Does it have to do with the financial situation in the country, or why do you think that is?
I think it has a lot to do with just it being a big city, obviously. It has a lot to do with the crisis also, because I heard people who have been living here all their life that they said that like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they would leave the doors open all day long. They didn't even have to lock their doors. And that's in the city. Or even the way the architecture of how the buildings in the city were built shows that prior to difficult times, things here were very different criminal-wise, because, for example, every floor has 2 apartments on one side. So, for example, I have my balcony, and then my neighbor has her balcony, and the fence between our balconies is like a glass. I don't even know how to explain. It's nothing. It's nothing. She could stand on a chair and pass to my balcony. That's it.
Yeah.
So today it's unthinkable. Like, I have good neighbors, so I'm not afraid. But imagine if I had shady neighbors.
Right.
They could just come to my balcony, enter my apartment. It's crazy. So I think it has a lot to do with this, and also immigrants, because tons of people coming from all parts of the world, no control over anything. They're also very poor.
Yeah.
So from this part too, yeah.
And on that note, you've been there for almost 6 years. Greece is, it had a crisis, a financial crisis. Has it affected you as a student, as someone that's there for school, and how is it affecting all parts of the country?
I guess I could say the experience of a foreign student, especially who doesn't depend on Greek finances to sustain myself. So the experience of a student and of a citizen are vastly different, because I don't depend on anything that happens here, actually, because my finances are my finances, and I'm just a guest in a way. I live the reality, but it's not my reality.
Yeah.
So I think that it affected me the strongest, in I guess in two main things. So it would be the strikes.
Mm-hmm.
It's just strikes and protests, which happen all the time.
Really?
So, for example, you want to go to school, and the bus just stops, and it's 40 minutes, and everything is stuck because people are marching in the center, and it's not something that happens, every now and then. It happens a lot.
Okay.
So because of the financial crisis, people are protesting all the time, and it's been like this for years now.
Yeah.
So they're protesting all the time. So it kind of stops life in the city at times, and it can be very difficult to move around.
Mm.
There is bureaucracy, which is crazy, because all of the systems are from the government, and the government is in crisis, and it gives absolutely no money for all the public services.
Yeah.
So it works horribly. These institutions are extremely understaffed, and there are no modern ways of doing things. So it works like in a third world country, literally. Like you stand in the line from 5 a.m. in the morning to get a number at 9 a.m.
Whoa.
And then you have to wait for another hour for them to open, and then at 1 p.m. you get in. For example, for the residence permit, right?
Yeah.
And they make mistakes, and they don't know what they want. It's crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy. So bureaucracy is nuts. Like, I've been waiting for my residence permit for like 9 months now. I got it after 9 months. Nothing to do with Corona. It's just the way they work.
Wow.
So it's understaffed. It works horribly. No modern systems.
Do you get your mail?
I do get my mail, and especially the bills. The bills come very quickly.
Yeah. Of course they do.
I should also mention the strikes, because even the protest, okay, fine, like they block you for like 40 minutes and it's over. But the strikes are bananas. They're nuts, because it depends on the period. Like right now, everything is fine, but there were years that, for example, every Thursday they would stop metro, all the lines of the metro, for a whole day or for like half a day. Oof. Do what you want. You have to go to school. You have to go to work.
Oh my God.
And that's just one example. So yeah, for me, this was, I guess, the hardest.
Yeah.
I guess.
That sounds difficult, for sure.
Is it any better? Or are we, do you see redemption, or is it gonna be like this for another 5 years?
I don't know.
Okay.
I really don't know. I think it's getting sort of better. It looked like it for a while, but then Corona came.
Right.
And all those tries to actually put things on their feet is just, I don't think the Corona helped at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully, I mean, I would like to see things here get better. Obviously, because some views are just plain sad. Like you walk the streets in the neighborhoods and you see a whole street that used to be just shops and it's all closed down and nothing happens there. You just see a shop, an empty space, and it's all dusty and there's so much of it, like everywhere.
It's really sad.
Yeah. When we're gonna take a quick break, when we come back, we're gonna dive a little bit more into the lifestyle and, you know, what can you do for hobbies and stuff like that. So we'll be right back.
Yay. Hi, welcome back.
And action. So Liza, I'm really curious. You've been there for 6 years. How's the dating life? You know, like what's going on?
It's going on, but it's not. The way it happens is so different. For example, from where I grew up in.
Yeah.
Because I felt this difference very, very strongly when I got back home the first year and the second year for the summer.
Mm.
Because here, for somebody to ask you out, he has to know you.
Oh.
I mean, it doesn't just happen like, you know, in a cafe or in those occasional interactions on the street or in the bus or whatever. When in Israel, I remember the first or the second year I went back and I went to Rothschild Street, which is like the center of Tel Aviv. Everybody goes out there, you know, to have fun, to have a good time, ice cream, pizza, whatever. And I remember walking the street and guys just, they come up literally to your face.
Yeah.
And they're like, you really want to go out? Like things like that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And you walk the street and people are looking at each other.
Yeah.
People are like, you know,
checking
maybe,
everybody
you know,
out.
Yeah. People just come up to you and are like, you're pretty. Want to talk? Want to like get a cup of coffee? And in a completely non-creepy way. Like
right.
It's not creepy. Just that's the way it is. So in Greece, it was a little bit shocking that guys are very mellow, to say the least. Like they're, I guess lazy. Just and very reserved. Very reserved. Like they prefer their own people, or like if they like Russians or whatever, they like the very typical Russian, like the tall girl with the blonde hair and the blue eyes. So for them, that's like, yeah, that's a trophy girlfriend. You know? But for the rest of it, no, they prefer their own, and they're very much into themselves. And yeah, it's very different. It's very different. So you actually have to know the person to actually get something, you know, going on or whatever.
Very interesting.
Dang. That's a 180.
Do you, is there like apps thing very common? Because like in the States, people date online. I think mostly now is the way it goes. Is that pretty popular in Greece or in Athens?
Not that I would know specifically because I don't use those things. Okay. But you do hear words like Tinder and things like that. So I think it exists everywhere.
Right.
Where you go. I mean, maybe in a village, no, but in the city. Obviously, yeah, but I think probably not as much as in the United States, because Greeks are in general not so in. The tech culture is not so developed. Okay. Because in the United States, it's like tech culture on steroids. Like it's all invented there, basically. Yeah. So, no, here not so much.
Interesting.
That's cool, kind of. Not really. So in your free time, do you like go out? Like what's your day off looking like?
So I guess, of course, the typical things like, you know, going out with friends, sometimes, you know, just go to the park, you know, just mix with nature, things like that. These are the typical things, going to a cafe, going out to eat, something like this. But my favorite my favorite day off was, of course, with photography. Yeah. And I started having this habit, especially here. I mean, I was photographing before I came here in Israel, but it was very little. It was just, not so much. And when I came here, it became a real thing for me, because I basically knew no one, and a lot of the free days were just me and in four walls. So it was kind of a great way to go out and explore.
Yeah.
And sort of, I guess, in a way, maybe write my own history. I was there and I saw that, and that happened then, and that happened then, and how even the same place changes from year to year. Things like that. And also,
very interesting.
With the camera, you're never really alone. So, it's me and my camera. So, it makes it easier to go out.
Yeah.
On your own.
Yeah.
Because you're not just wandering around.
Right.
On your own. You're actually doing something.
It gives you a purpose. Like, I'm not, like you said, not just wandering around. I'm going out to take pictures, to photograph. So it gives you like a mission.
Yeah, exactly. And from there, it developed. I have, I think, like maybe millions of pictures since I moved here. Maybe not thousands, but actually millions. And
wow.
I hope to start doing it professionally. But it all happened here. Like, maybe if I wouldn't move, and it wouldn't be so necessary to find something to do in your free time that you can do on your own. Maybe I wouldn't do that. So that's one good thing that came out of being overwhelmed and sort of lonely in the beginning. And then it's just, yeah. Also, great way to know people.
Right. And it's interesting because the first big purchase I made in the US, I bought a camera. And I think it comes from wanting to, that you're new, right? And you see things differently from someone who lived here their whole life. And you kind of want to capture that. And it's really cool. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess in a way, you could say that it sounds a little funny, but it's like a third eye.
Yeah.
Because you suddenly start noticing things.
Yeah.
And things that when you just walk around, they don't have any meaning at all. Suddenly they become art. And true. Many times, for example, I can be pissed about something, or just like, I'm done with this. I don't want to continue. I'm going away. I'm sick of it. And I look at pictures that I took, for example, all the last year or all the years before that. I suddenly see it and I'm like, wow, these were really happy moments. And I don't even remember what I felt like necessarily in those moments that I took the pictures, but just this beauty that you're capable of capturing, it kind of makes it all worth it in a way.
Yes. No, it's absolutely like that. I completely agree.
It's one of my favorite things to do also, is to just look back at pictures that I took at different periods of my life. And it's like really almost therapeutic, I feel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It erases, I guess I could say, it erases bad memories. Almost.
Yeah.
Like, you look at it and you're like, yeah, but I'm actually having a great time here. Maybe, there are hard days, but look at this cloud, and look at the rain and everything. So.
Yeah.
I think also it erases judgment that you may have, because you look at a picture that you took and you're like, oh, I was there, I did that. It's almost like an accomplishment. And so, you're not judging yourself a certain way.
And also, if something is, you look at something, you're like, oh, damn it, that's ugly.
Yeah.
But you take a picture of it, and suddenly it's interesting. Suddenly, it's not only ugly, but it's also a subject.
Right.
That you think of and that you capture, and you already have. You give it your own story, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, everything is I guess everything is beautiful when it's interesting, and it's interesting when you have a way to look at it.
Yeah.
So I guess a camera is a way to look at things. So
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's so cool that we're all photographers.
yeah, exactly.
Very cool.
It's a way to journal, really, because there's a story behind each photo you take, and that story, it's journalism. You know, I believe photography is evidence
Yeah.
that
True.
exists. So we will have an episode about photography
Now we
as
have
well.
to.
But any advice for someone thinking of being an international student? Like, how is that like? Because I always dream of going to school in a foreign country. I don't know anybody or anything. I don't know why. But do you have any advice from your point of view?
I guess the first thing I would say is don't be afraid, because it always seems very scary when you're far away from it. But once you're in, well, first of all, you have no choice. So you just do things because you have to. Stress can do incredible things to a person. I mean,
Yeah.
You're just there, you're in it, so you do things, and also you figure things out on the way. Because even for me, for example, before every exam, I'm still always thinking, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Before every exam for
Wow.
like the past 10 years. So it's always the same. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. No, I'm not going to do this. It's not going to happen.
Mm.
And then I'm like, yeah, but I have no choice. So I dive in, and suddenly it structures itself. It just structures itself, and you just have to be present and do it, I guess. And so as far as goes for studies and moving abroad, don't be afraid of different places, of different cultures, of starting your life from scratch, because there is nothing better to have for learning about who you are
Mm-hmm.
than moving to a completely different place. Because when you're rooted in your family, in your country, in your city, in all the friends, sometimes you can't even tell yourself apart from what's surrounding you.
Yeah.
And suddenly when you're thrown somewhere far away, you're like, oh, so that's me. You know, so
true.
that's who I am. And that. And also another thing which I think is very important, and which I didn't have the opportunity to do, is be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
I was not prepared. Try to learn the language at least a little bit beforehand, if you can. Try to know the culture, like the music, the literature, something, because when you come, it's so overwhelming. You don't have time for culture. You just don't. So you kind of you're closing in yourself, and you're like, yeah, I don't need that. I'm just going to listen to my music and read my books, and I don't care about this culture because it's difficult and it's overwhelming and it's strange to me. You're so overwhelmed with just everything that happens, especially when you have to, errands, papers, furniture, bills, building a life from scratch. It's incredibly hard to give your heart to try to know the people and their culture.
Yeah.
So I would recommend just trying to know some of those things beforehand.
Yeah.
So you don't become, I guess, resentful maybe in a way, because then you just come, and for you the country is the office where they give you or don't give you the papers, and the supermarket, and it's that too, but it's so much more than this.
Right.
Be prepared and don't be afraid.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, we definitely don't prepare when we move places. And then Do you have a favorite food?
A Greek food.
Yes.
I'm a vegetarian, so a lot of the Greek food I actually never tasted.
Really?
Like all the many of the, you know, like the famous kebab, souvlaki, and moussaka, which is another very famous Greek dish. So I never tasted that, but I guess my favorite is pretty banal. I guess it's just Greek salad and fried potatoes, fried
French
chips,
fries?
fried potatoes. How do we say it correctly, actually?
French
Wait.
fries.
Fries, exactly. But they're Greek fries. So, so let's call them Greek fries.
Yeah.
Greek salad and Greek fries. And also on that note, I think it's a great country for people who are vegetarian or vegan, because there is year-round, there is just so much fresh food. There are just so many fresh fruit and vegetables. And I think that the most special feature, as far as it goes for Greek food, is the fact that every week there is a farmer's market opening right under your house.
Wow.
So in the neighborhood, there is a farmer's market one day a week, and the farmers themselves bring their fruit and vegetables, you know, their food. So you can buy it fresh from the farmer, and you don't have to go somewhere for it. It's just right under your house.
Wow.
So I guess my favorite feature is actually the fact that there's just so much of it, and it's fresh. Like in the winter, you have oranges and lemons in such quantities that it becomes insanely cheap. And the quality is so good. I mean, the oranges and the lemons, they're so juicy in the winter and stuff. And right now in summer, so we have the Greek grapes, which are amazing. They're amazing.
Oh my God.
And there are figs and so much.
Oh, fresh figs. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Wow. Damn.
I love it. The Mediterranean products.
It's really
Yeah.
special. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. It is pretty awesome. So even if you don't taste any specific Greek dish, you're happy to just have all this abundance around you. So kind of cool.
Very cool.
Liza, thank you so much. On the note of abundance, do you have anything to add?
Come to Greece. Visit Greece.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're selling it.
Vlad and I went to Rhodes, which was very fun, but I feel like Athens has a lot of like culture and subculture from what you've told me also, like on our personal conversations, like the street art and the, like you touched a little bit about nightlife and a restaurant scene. So it sounds like there's a lot to do if like for young people, especially if you're artistic or just like to explore. Is there anything you wanted to add on that, like just for tourists?
Absolutely. There is something for everyone. That's what I think is so special. Like if you like nightlife, there's that. If you like just street food and you come solely for that, so there's tons of that. Of course, history, and for people who are Christians, who are interested in Christian culture, there's so much of that. And it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And obviously for people who are just interested, you know, in chilling and having a good time in somewhere in some remote place, you know, just blue waters and then green mountains. Yeah. So
Wow.
there is that. There's something for everyone, and there's always something to do here, and in Athens and out of Athens. So,
yeah. Very
yeah.
cool. It's very, I mean, I definitely want to come. And thank you for telling us about your journey. I think you're so brave and just a remarkable person because you've done so much, and doing all this on your own is not easy. Like, I applaud to you for how much you've achieved, how far you've come, and it's so fun for me to talk to you because like I'm married to your older brother, so like I almost see you like a younger sister, you know. So for me, I feel almost like proud, like look at Liza, like, you know, like I feel like a sense of pride of like what a woman you've become. Because also,
Thank you.
yeah, in these 6 years we've been apart, you were in Athens, we were in the States, and it's just so nice to see how far you come, how many things you've learned, how much you've evolved as a person, and I just love you.
Thank you. Likewise, both of you were actually a great source of inspiration for me too, because I think we moved at the same year.
Yeah. We
I think you
moved in
moved a little
August 14. Yeah.
And I left in November.
Right.
So I was always thinking, oh, but Jacqui and Jasmin, they did that, so I can do it too.
Oh.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
That's so
yeah.
sweet.
Right back at you. You're a great inspiration for me, and just thank you. This particular conversation has greatly affected me, and I just really, really appreciate. It's sometimes hard to tell your story, but you tell it so well, and really, really thank you for being a supporter of Chutzpah Time, but also just being part of it. It's really what it is. It's about our community and building community, and it's beautiful. And I'm gonna go to Greece for sure now.
No, we're coming. The minute we can, like, I want to see it. I want to see the streets and the people, and it just...
The museums.
Yeah, the museum.
The street food. If there is one thing that I miss in the U.S. is street food. Yes, it exists in New York, but it's not the same. Europe, it's just a whole culture.
It's different, yeah.
And street food really runs people's lives, you know? It's like, it's in your everyday life, so...
No, the amazing thing here is that you can get very good food for relatively cheap prices.
Right.
Like you can get a pita with fries and kebab and vegetables for like €2.50.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Wow.
You're making my stomach rumble.
It's so good. It's so good. Yeah.
Oh my God. Damn. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you for listening. Please follow us on Instagram at chutzpah_time. That's CHUTZPAH_time, where we post updates and reminders so you don't miss any of our episodes or shenanigans. We also are on Facebook and YouTube at Chutzpah Time Podcast, and on Twitter, Chutzpah Time. Thank you again, and goodbye. Thank you.